Kevin Harvick just exposed NASCAR on live TV, and it's not what you think. The former Cup champion went after Bubba Wallace, tore into the tire strategy at Darlington, and revealed why the entire sport has a massive problem heading into 2026. Here's the thing. Harvick isn't yelling for clicks. He was a champion. He knows racing. What he just said should scare the sport. Let's start with what happened at Martinsville 2 days ago. Race was rolling. Bubba Wallace was frustrated, and then he did something on live TV that Kevin Harvick couldn't stay quiet about. Wallace drove straight through Carson Hocevar's car. Not a bump, not a racing incident, a flat-out hit that turned Hocevar sideways and wrecked a quarter of the field. When it was over, Wallace was done. His day was finished, and here's what Harvick said on the Fox broadcast while the replay was still rolling. I'm telling you what, there's got to be more to that story. Because that right there, I mean Bubba Wallace just drove flat through the 77 car. So I would assume there was something that happened before that for that type of aggression. He was mad. Clint Bowyer backed him up immediately. Yeah, it was definitely on purpose. That wasn't a big enough block to warrant that, though. There was more to that story. I agree with you. This is huge, because both guys were saying the same thing. Wallace didn't just snap. Something deeper was going on. Then Harvick kept going. He watched the replay again. He saw Wallace pull down the track, saw him throttle up, saw him drive through Hocevar on purpose. Harvick wasn't making excuses. He was calling it exactly what it was. But here's where Harvick gets interesting. 3 days later on his podcast, Happy Hour, he walked it back just enough to show experience. He said, I know Bubba got riled up because Carson put him 3 wide on a restart and put him in a bad spot, and Bubba didn't like that. But you know it's Martinsville, and I've lost my temper a bunch of times at Martinsville and probably done stuff like this too. But it's tough when you crash a guy like that and then wind up in the crash yourself and your day is done and it wipes out so many cars. That's the Kevin Harvick nobody talks about. He's brutal on live TV, but off camera, he understands racing. He's been there, he's done it, and he knows the difference between a wreck and a mistake. But Martinsville is just the start of what Harvick exposed. Before Darlington even happened, Harvick warned drivers about something most people missed. On his Happy Hour podcast, he said the race could be the gnarliest race that we have seen there in a long time. Here's why. NASCAR brought a new short track package to Darlington. Less downforce, more power, and way less grip. Harvick laid it out. We're going to not have enough tires, and these cars are going to be out of control this week, and it should be fun to watch. Think about that. A former champion saying, your car's going to be out of control. That's not trash talk. That's a warning. But Harvick went deeper. He told drivers, race the racetrack. Only go as fast as your car will go and just keep yourself in the game because so many people are going to make mistakes. Translation, survival matters more than speed. Don't push it. Just stay in the race. Was he right? Tyler Reddick won. And after the race, Harvick praised the package and the racing. But notice what he said. All the drivers were struggling with rear grip. They had to manage tire wear the entire run. The cars felt on edge. Drivers had to be constantly adjusting. That's not normal. That's the sport admitting its cars need constant fixes. And here's the part that hits different. Harvick said, I thought that the drivers liked driving the cars, which is important to be able to have those guys be challenged inside the race car. He's saying that for years, drivers haven't been challenged. The cars have been too easy. Now they're fighting the car every lap. And Harvick thinks that's good for racing. But it also means NASCAR knows the cars were broken before. Let's rewind and look at the bigger picture. Kevin Harvick is a 3-time Cup champion. He's not some podcaster talking nonsense. He's in the Fox booth every other week. He's got credibility. When he says Bubba Wallace drove through Hocevar on purpose, people listen. When he says cars are out of control at Darlington, drivers take notes. When he praises the racing because drivers finally have to work, the sport has to answer why it took this long. This is what makes Harvick's commentary matter right now. He's not looking for clicks. He's not trying to be the loudest voice. He's calling it like he sees it, and what he sees is a sport that's been hiding problems. But there's more. Harvick also broke down why Joey Logano had a disaster day at Darlington while his teammates Ryan Blaney and Austin Cindric ran up front. He said it's easy to miss with a new package at a tough track. You have to do things different at Darlington than anywhere else just to keep the car underneath you. That sounds simple, but it's actually an indictment. It means the new package is so fragile that one setup miss ruins your entire weekend. One wrong adjustment, and you're a second a lap slower than your teammate. That's not balanced racing. That's a lottery. Think about what that means for the other 39 drivers in the field. If three-time Cup champion Joey Logano can get it that wrong, what chance do rookies have? What chance does anyone have when the car is this sensitive to setup? Harvick didn't stop there. He said Logano was definitely going to be the first one in the shop Monday morning because there's no way he could be happy with how that car ran. That's not trash talk. That's a fact about how broken the setup window is. And here's the scary part. This is only the third race with this new package. Darlington exposed it. But what happens when teams get more data? What happens in 5 races? 10 races? Does it get better or worse? Harvick's answer was basically that Darlington is such a beast of a racetrack that it's hard to dial in a car no matter what package you're running. But with less downforce and more power, it's impossible. You need to nail every single detail just to be competitive. Here's where Harvick gets specific about what's really happening in 2026. Tyler Reddick has won 3 straight races for 23XI Racing. Fans are wondering how. Is it the car? Is it the driver? Is it Michael Jordan? Harvick said it's all of it. But here's the thing. He praised Jordan for bringing financial stability to the team. He highlighted crew chief Billy Scott. He mentioned Denny Hamlin's expertise. He broke down how Michael Jordan's experience as a 6-time NBA champion gives him the aura to run a top racing operation. But then he basically said, if you have the money to do everything right, you win. That's not a hot take. That's a fact about NASCAR right now. And it cuts both ways. It means 23X. I can afford the best engineers, the best equipment, the best travel setup. They can invest in resources that struggling teams can't touch. Michael Jordan didn't become a legend by cutting corners. He's applying that mentality to racing. But it also means the smaller teams are cooked. They can't compete with that kind of investment. They can't afford to miss on setups the way Logano did and just absorb the damage. One bad weekend could cost them sponsors. One bad month could end their season. That's the reality Harvick just laid bare. Remember what we said at the start? Kevin Harvick just exposed NASCAR on live TV. And here's what he actually exposed. The sport knows its cars were broken. It knows drivers weren't being challenged. It knows that one bad setup ruins your entire season. It knows that money and stability win championships. Harvick isn't making accusations. He's just saying it out loud while the rest of the sport pretends nothing's wrong. That's the broadcast commentary nobody expected. That's the veteran who spent 20 years in a race car telling the truth without filter. But here's what matters most. The 2026 season just started. We're 3 races in, and already the cracks are showing. Logano fell to 16th in points after Darlington. One bad weekend, one bad setup call. His entire season is hanging by a thread.